What is going on, everyone? This is the Fourth and Fantasy Podcast, episode 25. You're probably wondering as you're watching, we got a bigger table.
Oh, yeah.
We got
New
more
setup.
people here. Big setup, big boy setup. My name's Meek, and I always got my co-host Wu to my left. Wu, how you feeling today?
I feel great, especially we got a couple guests here.
Yes,
we got
sir.
a special episode. I'm excited for this. This is going to be a good time.
Yep. So we got fan favorite Ty is back in the building. He was here on our tight end episode, but we got a new face on the edge of the table. Terrell, welcome, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Tell us, give us a background on fantasy football and why you love it so much.
I love it a lot, man. I mean, been playing it since 2016, where the meta was running back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you had to do it to win the league, but now, I mean, it's coming a long way where you go wide out, go running back, you get your taste. I guess.
Absolutely. So every person sitting at this table is a part of our Dynasty Fight Club, a league that we're a part of. So we've been battling out for multiple years in that, and other different leagues that we've been a part of. But it's nice to get everyone here on the table. You know what I mean? Talk some fantasy football. Yeah. And the topic today, love it. We're doing first mock draft of 2025, first redraft mock draft, and I don't know about you all fellas, but I'm excited to get ripping.
I'm just not gonna give away too many secrets. I might throw some wrenches
some
in there
curveballs.
so you guys don't know where I'm going.
Right? So for those of you who don't know, like this is our bread and butter, doing mock drafts. I know Terrell knows. I know Wu knows. When we were working the summers at the beach club, this is the go-to thing. So we are not new to doing some mock drafts.
The only way to get through an 8-hour shift that takes forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But top of the show, we've hit 1,300 plus plays across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Thanks to everyone who is listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts right now. Make sure you guys are giving us a follow, a rating, leave a comment. And for those of you who like a video format like you're seeing today, we appreciate you as well. Make sure you're following us on all of our socials: Twitter at Fourth and Fantasy Pod, Instagram and TikTok at Fourth and Fantasy, YouTube at Fourth and Fantasy. I will say, Woo, the YouTube is blowing up a little bit.
Okay,
a little bit. We got a lot more views on there than Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So you guys got to pick it up.
There we go.
But we're going to kick it off. A quick question of the day. So this one I'm going to title everyone. This one is Breakout. Name one fantasy player who is poised to break out in 2025. So I'm going to start with Wu on the left, and we'll go around the table. So, Wu, you have the floor, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going Quinshon Judkins. This one's easy for me. Running back at Ohio State. Browns take him in the second round, 36 overall. They had a couple guys there already with Jerome Ford. And with the Nick Chubb injury, those guys kind of had their opportunities to be the guy for the Browns and be that starting running back, and nothing really panned out. So, and you can tell, the Browns thought that way as well when they go and take this guy in the second round. I've been on record about Judkins through the whole pre-draft process up until now. I think he's the second best running back in this draft. And I think landing in Cleveland was a perfect opportunity for him. I think there's an easy pathway for him to become that RB1 for that team, be a 3-down back. And have major fantasy production going forward. I was a little surprised by the Browns taking Dylan Sampson as well, following up that Quinshon pick. But I don't think it's going to make me that nervous at all. Judkins looks like an absolute freak out there. I've seen a couple clips from the training camps far, so I'm super excited. I've got him in a league already. I can't wait to see what he does in Cleveland. I think he's going to smash.
Yeah, and we've talked about it on the show before about how it feels like it's so wide open for Judkins, coming into Cleveland. It feels like all he has to beat out is Jerome Ford, and he's going to get the majority of touches. I think he's someone who's a sneaky, running back 1 type of season, meaning between running back 1 and 12. I think he could finish somewhere between like 12 and 15, just with the amount of volume that he has. And then going into next season and having that year under your belt could mean great things for him. Totally. Anyone here on the table got thoughts about Judkins?
Don't let Dylan Sampson. Don't sleep on him.
Oh, you're a Dylan Sampson fan.
Watch what he did at Tennessee.
Sell me on it.
Dylan Sampson was leading college football in rushing last year. The first 9 games of college football, he was leading college football. The kid can run very well. In just today's NFL, you have to have 2 backs.
Oh, I agree.
You have to,
I agree.
And they fit each other perfectly.
Yeah.
Junkins is the Thunder. Sampson's gonna take off. I could see them using both backs. It's just I'm not completely sold on Junkins. One, because watching him at Ohio State, there was times where it's just like he does some bonehead things. He just does stuff that, as a rookie, it's like, will they give you that much leash? And then his pass pro isn't the greatest. That's why Henderson was on the field during pass pro.
Yep.
First way to get on the field in the NFL as a rookie running back is pass pro.
100%.
If you can't pass pro, you won't see the field.
Yeah,
it's a fair point.
But what I would also, I guess, two devil's advocate to play with that. Number one, Sampson did play in Tennessee's offense where it was absolute spread wide, where they had wide receiver sideline to sideline, so he always had that lane to get yards, and he balls, like don't get it twisted. But then also we're talking about having that short of a leash, but wouldn't Judkins have the longer of the leash of the two because he's the higher rate drafted back?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying he won't have a longer leash. I agree with that.
Yep.
I just know his knock at Ohio State was pass pro. Big problem for him. Big problem for him.
I like that. Yeah, so keep an eye out on Dylan Sampson. If he's in your dynasty waivers, you might want to go and scoop him up if he's there. I'm gonna go next. My pick is going to be Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of San Francisco. The only thing here I'm going to say with Ricky Pearsall is two things. Number one, you got to check the game logs at the end of the season with him, and I have him up here. He played weeks 14 through 18, but the big ones were weeks 16 through 18. Week 16, he was wide receiver 60, but then 17 was the wide receiver 6, and then week 18 was the wide receiver 15. And those last two games of the season had 18 targets in total. So he averaged 9 targets a game, which is awesome. What you also need to consider, though, is that Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL late in the season, and they're talking about him not being available until maybe November, December, which we all know ACLs are different with everybody. So it could be November. They could be saying November. He has a setback or it's not healing as properly, and we push it into December, January. The season's almost over. Yeah. You know what I mean? The other thing I want to point out here too is something that we talked about last episode with the amount of defensive stars that have left the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think they're going to be as dominant as everyone thinks they're going to be. I think a lot of teams are going to be in games. They're going to force Brock Purdy to throw the ball to stay up or stay in games, and I think that's all good things for Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Pearsall pick, especially with the idea that San Fran's looking to shop Ayuk, which to me is confusing, especially you give him all that money. I'm assuming that that's more of a financial decision, not necessarily based on his talent, but still just confusing that they even gave him the money in the first place. But if Ayuk's gone, I mean, it's Pearsall and like who else? I mean,
Jawan Jennings.
Yeah, you got Jawan Jennings and a 32-year-old George Kittle. So I mean,
sleep on the cowing.
The opportunities are wide open for him if that happens.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next one. Ty, who is your breakout candidate for 2025?
Emeka Egbuka.
Tell us why.
The guy eats in the slot, and you tell me you have Mike Evans on the outside. The way he runs routes, he runs NFL routes already. I mean, he went to Ohio State. That's I hate to say wide receiver you, but like
it's them or LSU.
They just produce NFL talent ready guys right away. Guys come out of Ohio State and they are ready to play in the NFL. And I just think he's going to eat all slot catches, which he did at Ohio State. And Baker loves throwing to a slot. We know he loves throwing there. And he's a talent and he's ready. I thought he was ready last year. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised he went back to college. I thought he would have been a first-round pick last year. So I just think he's ready for the NFL.
Yeah, he always feels like the phrase is escaping me, but like he's always like the second best. When he was at Ohio State,
I know exactly what you're
talking about. I mean? He was stuck behind JSN. He was stuck behind Marvin Harrison Jr. And then he was stuck behind Jeremiah Smith last year.
We're talking about generational talent.
No, I know, but like he's that good. You know what I mean? I love the talent of him too, and I'm glad that he went to Tampa Bay because you need to think about too. Chris Godwin broke his ankle.
Yeah, that's also
that's
that's another huge plus.
Broke his ankle, so it's like
32.
Yeah, 31. Yeah. I think he's 31.
Yeah.
But like, so you don't know when he's going to come back, and Egbuka might just step into that slot role and just never let it go. You know what I mean? So I love that pick, and I think he's someone who you definitely want to target. All right, last breakout, Terrell. You have the floor. Tell us about your pick.
I'm going to go with George Pickens out of Dallas.
Yes, sir.
I think him going to Dallas and him being a 1B type of receiver, he's going to flourish there. So, I don't know, man. I think he's getting doubled in Pittsburgh, whatnot. Now he goes to Dallas where all eyes are on CD.
Mm-hmm.
He might just pop off this year.
He could, and that's someone that, we've definitely talked about on the show where him playing with CD is the best wide receiver he's ever played with so far. He's someone who's strictly going to play outside, which allows CD to play the slot role and the pressure is finally off CD. He can be as good. And then if you try to double CD, Pickens is on the outside, and he's going to burn you. Right now, Pickens is going. I was just checking ADP. He's going at the 512. Some people who are going around him, or some people going ahead of him so far are Olave, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle. I'd probably say outside of Xavier Worthy, I'd probably take Pickens over. Pickens over all of those other options.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So great pick, Terrell. I love that one. But that's not the main reason why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to do a mock draft, like I said before. So what we did was we're going to do a 12-team mock. The way we have it set up, it's going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex, and then we added 2 bench spots. We randomly picked our positions. Charles is going to be picking at the 6th spot. I'm going to be picking at the 7th spot. Wu's picking at the 8th spot, the 9th spot, and Ty's at the 10. So it's going to be snipes galore. Snipes galore. We love it. But listen, without further ado, we're gonna get this thing started.
Let's go.
So the computer's gonna pick first. The first 6 picks. So.
I'm prepared for that.
So going from 1 through 5 right now, Barkley went at the 101, Jefferson at the 102, Chase at the 103, Robinson at the 104, and Gibbs at the 105. I think going out of all these picks, I think none of these are shockers. I think all these guys are going to go within the first 5 picks. I think the position, it's totally preference on people who are picking at those positions. But Terrell, you're up at the 106. Who are you looking at? Tell me who you're liking.
I think I'm going to go. I think I'll go Puka.
All right.
I'll go Puka.
Tell me why you want to go Puka.
I like Puka. I mean, he has a relationship with Stafford.
Yep.
I was looking at CD, but Pickens is there, so I don't know. And Amon-Ra, they're saying he's questionable. What was? So
Amon-Ra had an off-season knee surgery, just a knee cleanup. Nothing to say that's going to affect training camp or anything like that. But no, listen, I love the Puka pick because if anyone who's listening now has listened to this episode, I love Puka. Traded for him in Dynasty. He's a cornerstone pick that I've had here. I think he's a great pick, and similar to the CeeDee Lamb situation, he's got Devontae Adams with him, who's going to take the eyes off him, and he's going to be able to produce more. So great first pick. Actually was going to be my pick here at the 107, but I'm not upset. I'm going to take CD here at the 106. We just talked about just before about George Pickens and how CD's the best receiver that he's going to play with. I think this is perfect for CD because he is someone in that 2023 season when he was the wide receiver 1, he ate inside the slot. And I think with all the moves that Dallas has made this offseason, and you have Brian Schottenheimer saying that we're going to run the ball, I don't believe it for 1 second. I think this is going to be a high-flying offense.
Yeah, who's going to run the ball?
Yeah, there's no one there to run the ball. You know what I mean? Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, I'm sorry, that's not happening. So they're going to throw the ball. I just want to go to my projections really quick. I have them projected. So last year they had 637 passing attempts, which was high, and I know it was a bunch of different quarterbacks playing. I have them down a little bit at 590, but those are 590 Dak Prescott passing attempts, and I think those are more valuable than what they had last year. And then I'm just checking here. Yeah, I have CD now for a 24% target share. I think it's going to be another one of those years where I think he's just going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So. There goes 107. 108 was Amon-Ra St. Brown. And, Woo, you are on the clock at the 109.
Yeah,
Three wide receivers taken in a row.
I'm going to make it 4.
Yeah, I knew it.
You know, the Amon-Ra going there made my life a little easier because I was stuck between these two guys. So I went neighbors here. What he was able to do last year with the pathetic isn't the right word. It's worse than that. Quarterback play. You know, I'm sorry to the Giants fan at the end of the table, but, you know, what he was able to do with the bad quarterback play and still be able to produce, he is target dominant. The Giants know that this is their best receiver. They need to get this guy the ball, get it in his hands, let him do the rest of the work. We've seen the talent. It absolutely has translated to the NFL, and I'm really excited to see what he can do here in year 2.
Yeah, I just think he's set up for monster targets because, I mean, there is nobody else there that's competing for targets. And I think whether it's Russ or whether it's Jameis, it's going to be better than any targets he's gotten last year from, you know, DeVito and, you know, Daniel Jones and whoever it may be. So, you know, you may see, you know, another top. He might be a top 5 finish next year. I don't know.
I could see it.
Yeah.
It's just, please play Jameis Winston. I don't want to see Russell Wilson anymore. I'm so out.
Yeah.
Just give me Jameis. He'll have 2,500 yards.
Yep. But then the other good thing too is that, you know, this is redraft, so we're only talking this year, but in the years to come, you know, he does have Dart, and I think, you know, when Dart finally steps onto the scene and he has a stable, you know, quarterback one, I think that's when Neighbors is going to take off. But
do we think he stays around for a stable quarterback?
Who, Neighbors?
Yeah.
You think he's gone in free agency?
I don't think they allow him to go in free agency.
You have to
We thought the same
blank
thing
check and a
about
pen.
Odell, though, huh?
If Odell doesn't get hurt.
Fair.
Yes.
Fair.
If
Okay.
Odell doesn't get hurt.
Okay.
He's,
Okay.
he's
I
contract he would have signed.
Yes.
Been out of this
Okay.
world.
Yes, I put Neighbors. I know it's early and he hasn't done it yet, but I put him in the Chase category where like he's just an alpha one, and you don't let that walk out the door. You franchise tag him twice times over just to make sure that he stays in, and you figure out a long-term deal. Because
Dart
if not,
have to show up.
yes,
He's
he
gonna
will.
have to show up.
I have full confidence in him. The only thing that has me worried about it is, can Daboll stay for this entire year? Because they're going to be bad. We've talked about their schedule being the hardest schedule in football. Can Daboll keep his job? So for 1 year and Dart becomes the starter, then I think that offense takes off. Yep. So moving on, the 110, Ty, you are up. You've had some time to mull it over. What do you got?
I got to say 10 is the worst pick.
You think so?
it's the worst pick.
Listen,
I gotta take Henry.
Is it though?
I'm not a big. I'm just not a big fan of 10, but I gotta take Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was the time to try new things. You know.
No, I mean he's still there.
Yeah. There it is. But so tell me why Henry.
The man. When is the cliff gonna happen? Is it ever gonna happen? Is it ever gonna happen? If there's somebody who's gonna beat Father Time, it's Derrick Henry. Look
It
at
is
that,
Father
man.
Time himself.
He just. Look at him.
And you look at the situation in Baltimore. I mean, the backup running backs are Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell. There's not really anyone who's going to be there to, you know, really test him for
They're not
touches.
there to take his carries.
Yeah, those guys are there for extra receiving.
Yeah, they're not there to take his carries.
There and to give him a blow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I think, you know, Derrick Henry's a great pick, and I feel foolish. Or I think, you know, I know you will also feel foolish where, you know, last year all of us were doubting him in a new situation, you know, not thinking he was going to do the same thing. But it's like him and Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, like it was a match made in heaven. Like I don't know why any of us should have doubted that to begin with.
Yeah, the volume's not going to be a problem for you at all. You know he's going to get, you know, a load of touches every single game on a weekly basis, and they're going to be high quality touches. Yeah. It's a good offense. He's going to be in position to score touchdowns, and he still has the home run ability. So I love the pick.
Absolutely. All right. So coming back around, so we had Brian Thomas Jr. at the 111, Nico Collins at the 112 to start round 2. We had Devon Achane, Drake London. Ty, you are back after taking Derrick Henry. I know who this pick is.
I mean, both of the picks that are projected are both of my guys.
I know they are.
But I'm not taking either of them.
No?
Wow.
You had me shocked here. I'm absolutely shocked.
I'm not taking either of them.
Oh, no.
Who'd you take?
Why Jesus?
Oh. Tell me why McCaffrey?
I just think everybody's just not talking about him. I think he's prime for it's San Fran's offense. I know their defense isn't going to be as good. Shanahan's going to run the ball. That's just what he does. That's never going to change. I mean, could it fourth quarter they throw the ball more, but guess what? My guy still catches the ball.
Yeah,
so like
doesn't
he's
hurt him at all.
not going anywhere. Unless like he's a completely different player on the field, and then that's on me. But like you have to take. I just think he could get you 100 catches. We've seen him before.
Yep,
we've seen him before. Not many running backs can do that, and that in fantasy, a running back who can catch the ball takes a running back from here to like the next level. It makes look at Jahmyr Gibbs was the running back 1 last year, splitting carries because of his receiving ability.
Exactly,
it changes a lot when you can catch the ball.
And I think one thing people are afraid of, and I wouldn't, because it's a redraft, it's completely different. He's 29 years old. Yeah. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of a 29-year-old running back in a redraft league. Dynasty, different situation, but being in a redraft, I think he's someone who can totally ball in this offense, and if he can stay healthy, I mean, in the beginning of the second round, I think he's probably the only person out of these running backs who could actually finish as the running back 1. There's been potential name in there. Yes, I know who you're going to make it a comment about, but of the people who have proved it and have done it, he's the only one who could potentially still finish as the running back 1. So moving on, Wu, you are up.
I can't believe he's sitting here, and I'm gonna take him. It's Brock Bowers.
Yes.
I've said in the past how, I'm not huge on taking tight ends early. I've done it in the past. Wasn't a fan of how the rest of the roster, kind of shook out. But when I'm sitting at 4 picks deep in the second round and Brock Bowers is still there, it's an auto pick for me. It's a positional advantage on a week-to-week basis. A lot of I do this all the time with the tight end position. I'll punt it, and then I'm usually streaming a tight end every week, and I'm hoping they score a touchdown.
Yep.
With Brock Bowers, I do not have to worry about that position for the rest of the year. I have 1 bye week I have to cover. I love what he was able to do last year with, again, terrible quarterback play. Now he gets
a trend here, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. Yeah, he gets a massive upgrade with Geno Smith. Which to say massive is like that's how you know how bad the quarterbacks were.
Yes.
So to have Geno Smith there now, I think the quality of targets is going to increase. I think they're going to continue to pepper him with targets, and I'm all about my fantasy players having the most opportunities possible, and that's what this guy's going to get.
I love that. I just want to point out though that is not Wu's tight end 1, and he jumped his tight end 1 in this situation. But
I did.
We roll. It's all good. So in between Wu and I's pick, or did you get anyone else have a comment for Bowers?
He's about to have a big year.
Yes.
Pete Carroll loves play action. They got their running back. The play action to the tight end is going to be so wide open in that offense. It's going to be so wide open.
Rel, did you buy your Bowers jersey yet?
I haven't yet. I'm looking at a Genty jersey for sure, though.
Okay. Foreshadowing. So in between Wu and I's pick, at the 205, Josh Allen was taken. First quarterback off the board you like to see. So I'm sitting here at the 206. I can go in 2 different directions here, and I'm gonna try this out. It's gonna be a strategy potentially I may use in drafts, but I'm gonna go wide receiver here, and I'm gonna go with Ladd McConkey, wide receiver from Los Angeles Chargers.
Is that a homer pick or?
You can call. Listen, you can call.
Is that a homer pick?
You can call it a homer pick, but this is the strategy here.
You don't see Justin Fields on my team
yet. The strategy here though is I'm going to take wide receivers who are going to have high volume targets. CeeDee Lamb is someone who's undoubtedly going to have a high volume target. I think Ladd McConkey is someone who's also going to have high volume of targets. I know that the Chargers took Omarion Hampton first in their first round pick, and they also took Trey Harris, but you saw in this Charger offense in the second half of the year when they turned the ball over to Justin Herbert and let him throw the ball, he started to build a connection with Ladd McConkey. He was, had 1,100 yards receiving, multiple touchdowns, and he just had crazy amounts of targets. I think he's going to be Justin's go-to guy when he needs it the most. He is now the Keenan Allen of this offense and his go-to guy.
I don't think there's anybody else there, though.
No.
So, of course, he's
correct.
He's going to get the target.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to get the
Yeah, I was going to say, you look at the other options here. It's Trey Harris, who hasn't done anything yet. You have a 29-year-old Mike Williams. You have Jalen Reagor. You know what I mean? So there really is there's nobody there. And so I think with that high volume, I think it's going to be good things for fantasy. So Terrell, you are up at the 207. What are you feeling? What are you looking?
I'm going, Gent.
Yeah, there it is. Tell us why. Because listen, you haven't been on this podcast. You know, what's your rationale on Genti? You think he's going to be a top 12 running back this year, or
how many just got drafted before him?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's the RB7 coming out of this.
Yeah. So he's probably top 10. He's probably
top 10 with major upside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we've gushed about him on this podcast. He's a freak of nature. I hate that he went to the Raiders. You know, kudos to you guys down there, but whatever. But he's gonna smash. And just like Ty said, you know, in this Pete Carroll, you know, it will technically a Chip Kelly offense, right? Because you know Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator, and you look at how they did it at Ohio State. It was methodical, you know, running the ball with Judkins, Henderson, working off of play action. You know, I think it's a great, you know, landing spot for him, and I think, you know, there's no one else really that's going to break in for you know, rushing attempts.
No, absolutely. The way Chip Kelly ran that offense at Ohio State got Will Howard drafted.
Yes, in the 6th round.
Will Howard made the NFL because of the way Chip Kelly set that offense up. You're going to run the ball. That means my wide receivers are going to have one-on-one. Well, not just my wide receivers. My pass catchers are going to have one-on-one opportunities to beat their guy. But we're going to run the ball first.
Yes.
Run the ball first. You have to win first down running the ball. And that's how, and Pete Carroll, we all know, I mean, he has that one instance of not running the ball, but we all know Pete Carroll loves to run the football.
Yes. I love the pick, Terrell. So after Terrell's pick, we had 10 players off the board. So McBride, A.J. Brown, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, JSN, Lamar Jackson, Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill. It has all gone all the way back to you, Terrell. Where are you looking? What are you feeling?
I'm probably going Kyron Williams.
Oh,
Back to
double
back.
running back.
Yeah.
Why are we feeling Kyron? Tell me why.
I mean, he hasn't missed. He is a complete fantasy monster. When healthy, I'm trying to look at his numbers really quick. What he put up.
I mean, the guys, we talk about, you know, how touchdowns can't be a sticky stat. He is the exception.
Oh, yeah. Last year, he had 316 rushing attempts, and I remember us talking about this. Outside of Saquon and Derrick Henry, he had the most amount of rushing attempts in you know, out of all fantasy running backs. So he's someone who has consistent volume. He ran it at 4.1 yards per clip. You'd like to probably see that come up a little bit more, but, you know, again, you know, there's no one else there around him. You know, he had I think it was a 70% running back to, carry share. You know, and it's Blake Corum, Jarquez Hunter, which I know the Rams love. You know, their pick of Jarquez Hunter, but I think Kyron Williams is a stud, and I think he's a smash play for redrafts this year. The only question I am concerned about is he is coming into a contract year this year for Dynasty. I don't know. Do we see him get that deal? That, you know, that remains to be seen.
He might get the James Cook deal though. James Cook wants 15?
Yes,
but that's worth it for Kyron. It's not worth it for James Cook.
Correct. I don't know. I
also think Devontae Adams going there. Just eyes getting off certain players.
Yeah, there's more guys you have
Just
to pay attention
picks
to.
up, like, better play. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're trying. I mean, the Rams were, you know, a sneaky pick that I had. You know, their offense bringing, you know, fantasy gold, you know, in 2025. Yep. So I think that all ties into it. You know, with Devontae Adams being there, it takes eyes off of Kyron. And it's McVay. You can't, you can never go wrong with going with McVay. So it's a great pick. I love the pick. So now I am up here at the 307. There's one player I'm looking at this board that
I swear to God, if it's who
I have never had a chance to take, and I will be taking him. It's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, no, I retired.
Quarterback.
Man. You need a new co-host. I'm out.
Jaden Daniels, quarterback of the Washington Commanders. Listen, what I'm gonna say here for Jaden Daniels is, could he have a sophomore slump? 100%. But one of the things that you always want to key in on in fantasy football are pass catching running backs and then dual threat quarterbacks. And, you know, someone like Jaden Daniels, who could give you almost 1,000 yards because he had 891 last year and 6 rushing touchdowns. That's something I'm going to bet on 10 times out of 10, and I think just him having another year to develop, they add Deebo Samuel, who's going to be probably the, best wide receiver 2 or a better wide receiver 2 than whatever they had last year. I am someone who is also a fan of, Ben Sennett. I think Zach Ertz is going to disappear into the background, and I think Ben Sennett, who's a second round sophomore out of Kansas State, I think he's going to be someone who steps into the fray, is going to, demand targets and be, I think this offense is going to be dynamic.
For all those reasons is exactly what I wanted.
They also added Tunsil.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. I forgot about that.
Which is huge. Also, he just dropped a video yesterday. That man is a freak.
Yes, he is. Yep.
He didn't have a gas mask on, though, did he?
He did
that
not.
man is a freak.
Yes. So and that's another reason, right? You have he has his cornerstone left tackle now, someone to protect his blind side, and we know my man Jaden Daniels has been in the VR lab. So, listen, the more time in the VR lab, better it is for my fantasy roster. I love it. So, in between my and Wu's pick, Marvin Harrison Jr. went off the board. Wu, were you looking at him, Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah. So, when you stole Jaden Daniels, my eyes kind of looked to Marvin Harrison.
And then that didn't happen.
Yep. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go Rashee Rice.
No.
Yes.
I thought you were for sure going Breece Hall there.
Well, so I'm playing a little game here because Ty's got a couple running backs, so I don't think he's going to go again.
I knew what you were doing.
I like this.
Exactly. So I'm going Rashee Rice here. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs. Anytime there's a wide receiver 1 involved with a quarterback named Patrick Mahomes, I would like them on my team.
Mm-hmm.
I had Rashee Rice last year in a redraft league. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. Were super fun. Week 1, he had 15 points, 16 points, and then 17 as well. Or excuse me, week 4 is when he goes down, and Mahomes took out his own guy. But it was super fun. That ride was awesome. He fit into the offense really well. You could tell that Mahomes favored throwing him the ball. They were starting to work him in, especially with Travis Kelce, starting to work towards this decline in his career, which is okay. He's had a hell of a run, but now it's time for some youth to get in on that offense. I think Rashee Rice is the guy here.
Yeah, I love that pick. I think a lot of people are overplaying the injury that he had. I think a lot of people are assuming it was just an ACL injury. We'll see you in a year kind of thing. It was only an LCL injury, which, granted, you don't want to tear any ligaments in your knee, but, at least it's not the big one in the ACL. And, he's been 100% what it seemed like when you look at him on social media. He's doing one-legged box jumps off of the torn knee. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be a smash play. The other thing, too, that you got to think about is Travis Kelce's 35 years old, and he and Travis Kelce kind of command the same area of the field. And I think if Rice comes in and has that pop that we're all expecting him to have, I think Patrick Mahomes can't, not give him those targets.
Yeah, I want to correct myself here also. His fantasy points last year, those first 3 weeks, were 17, 18, and then 29.
Yeah.
He was a target.
So then the targets, he goes 9, 6, and then 14. I want all of that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a great pick. I love that. I love that pick in the third. All right, Ty, you are up at the 310. You went Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, 2 elder statesmen.
Take Breece, I dare you.
He's daring you. Where are you going?
I thought about it.
Okay.
But that's not where I'm going. Gonna go with my boy T.
Yes.
My boy T.
You love T.
Yeah, he's my guy. Oh man. But I also did it hoping I was getting Joe Burrow on the back end.
And it didn't happen. Listen, so T as your wide receiver 1, where he's the wide receiver 2, is there any caution with you, with that?
Absolutely. But the way I drafted my team was I'm worrying more about the running back, and hopefully that in a redraft.
Yep.
This is not how I normally do it, but in a redraft.
No, you want to try new things.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. I'm going running back heavy, so I'm hoping that I know they're older, but they would carry my team. Those 2 running backs getting 20 carries a game. I'm I feel good about them.
Yes.
I don't need the Jamar Chase, the Justin Jefferson points out of my wideouts. I just need to get me 10, get me 12, get me 15.
Yep.
Because I'm hoping that my running backs would be getting me 20 every
exactly.
week. So
that kind of carries you in the week.
T. Higgins, Those numbers last year when he played,
Yes, he did.
The guy can ball.
out of this world.
When he balls, you know what I mean? Like, well,
Yeah, you gotta
that's
stay on the field.
That's the thing is like, can he stay? Like, T's almost like, and I'm looking at your team right now with back to back with McCaffrey and T. Like those guys, you can't even guarantee to play a full 16-game
No,
season.
of course. But this is also my problem in redraft. I am the king of hoping I get something out of somebody. I do this in every single league. 2 years in a row in our other league, redraft, I drafted guys that were hurt that weren't even playing. Like, oh, just wait till week 4.
Yep, with Cooper Kupp, I remember that year. Oh my God.
With T. Higgins, though, now that he has his money, do those injuries magically heal a little bit quicker?
So this is the crazy thing that I heard. So I heard that in this contract that he signed, it's worked into his contract where he gets a game day bonus if he plays.
Wow.
Oh,
So
that's huge.
So there's
Shout out his agent. Oh my
yes.
God.
So there's an incentive almost there for him to play every single week,
When you say it like that, that's insane to me.
isn't it? Like so I think.
What does that mean though? Like, if he just plays a couple snaps, like, does he get the bonus, or is it like he has to play X amount of snaps?
I don't know the details of that,
okay.
but I know, like, you know, generally it's, you know, if he plays that week,
Yep.
he gets that bonus, you know, and so for fantasy that almost gives you a sense of safety knowing that, you know, unless he's not playing or, you know, unless he's not playing, you know, he's really hurt, you know, so so he's going to try to tough it out because, you know, listen, NFL players love money, you know what I mean? So he's definitely going to try to tough it out. But so we're going to move into round number 4. So right after Ty's pick of T. Higgins, Brees Hall goes off the board. Then James Cook, George Kittle at the 401, Joe Burrow at the 402. Ty, you're on the clock. I know you wanted Joe Burrow, but have you picked up a plan B?
Oh, absolutely.
It's always a plan B.
Oh, man.
The touchdown mongrel. The guy.
Yes, he is.
You can just guarantee him to score like 10 touchdowns a year on the tush push. It's crazy. Like, for fantasy owners of Saquon Barkley, you gotta hate Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
You have to hate Jalen Hurts. Barkley has 120 yards, and it's like, yeah, that's great. But he missed out on 3 touchdowns that were from the 1-yard line.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's even more than that because Jalen Hurts is someone that you can book it like double-digit rushing touchdowns every year. I think outside of his rookie year, every single year after that, he's always had double-digit rushing touchdowns. The tush push isn't banned, which is phenomenal for him. So, I mean, I don't see why he doesn't do it again.
And I think that passing offense is better than people think.
I agree.
It is, but it's the volume of, like, okay, so they just went on a Super Bowl run, you know, running the ball as well as they did. Why would they not try and run that back?
Yes,
I
exactly.
was having this conversation this morning with some friends, you know, talking about Jalen Hurts and what we think of him as a passer. And, you know, it's not that I'm concerned, like how this affects A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. It's not that I don't like those two guys as talents, but if you're going to go on a Super Bowl run like that with how you ran the ball, why are you going to fix something that isn't broke? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. All right, so Wu, you are up now at the 404. You've gone Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Rashee Rice. Where are you going here?
Devontae Adams.
Yes.
So, you know, I tried to play the ADP game with Brees, you know, play a little mind games here. It didn't end up working out, and that's okay. You know, that's the ebbs and flows you have to go with in a draft. So now, since I didn't get Brees, I'm looking more towards the wide receivers here. This is a full PPR league, and I'm going to take people who are going to get the ball. You know, Neighbors is target dominant. Bowers is target dominant. We saw a little bit of it with Rice last year, and I expect it to continue this year. When it comes to Devontae Adams, sure, he's not going to be the number one option. He's going to be on an elite offense. You know, I've talked insane amounts about Sean McVay and how I want pieces of his offense. So that continues here. What I think about Devontae Adams, even though he's not going to be the number one option, especially the stage that he's at in his career, I think he's 32.
Yep, 32.
You know, obviously a lot of the eyes are going to be on Puka. He's going to get a lot of the downfield work. There's going to be so many situations on these Rams drives where they're, you know, 2nd and 7, 3rd and 5, you know, that kind of range, and they need this first down to keep the money down to keep the drive going. And Devontae Adams, that is his bread and butter, especially at this age. He doesn't have to worry about going downfield and all of that stuff, you know, very close to the line of scrimmage, you know, having to pick up that first down. You know, those are going to be his targets, and I know for a fact that's going to be worked into the game plan for him. So I want Devontae Adams here.
Absolutely. Ty, you got a thought for Devontae Adams?
That's my,
that's your guy.
That's my guy. He's been my guy forever. I think people are also forgetting he's still Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at what he did at the end of the year with the
he's
Jets.
now my wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
look at what he did at the end of the year with the Jets when he got Rodgers. Like
He was the wide receiver. He was the wide receiver 10
I also
last year.
teams are not going to leave him one-on-one. His feet are too good that he is not getting covered by one person. I know this probably helps Puka even more, this situation about Puka. Devontae Adams cannot be left one-on-one.
No.
And the Rams love the RPOs, the quick stuff around the line of scrimmage, and that's all that Devontae Adams could eat with that, with Puka on the outside. And
Absolutely.
I mentioned the age piece with Devontae Adams and how they're going to try and structure it around his at this point of his career where he's at physically, but that's also like worst case scenario. He is still Devontae Adams, like you said.
Yeah. I love it.
He carried teams to a fantasy Super Bowl last year.
He did.
he literally carried teams.
Yes, he did. He did. All right. So in between Wu and I's pick at the 405 was Chase Brown. So now I'm up here at the 406. I've gone CeeDee Lamb, Lad McConkey, Jaden Daniels. I need a running back, fellas. I need it bad.
Oh, I already know who this
There's
is.
a name who's sitting there that
Actually,
Wu
there's
knows.
like 3 names.
It's 3 names, but there is one that. Listen, I would love to take Omarion Hampton here, but I'm not. Listen, I understand, it's a Charger player and all that stuff, but one big thing, and this is a tip for you guys listening and watching, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself to one offense, all right? You want to diversify your portfolio as much as possible. So, as much as I love Omarion Hampton, I can't go Omarion Hampton here, but I'm totally fine with that because I'm going to take Kenneth Walker. I have been a huge Kenneth Walker fan this offseason. I put my money where my mouth was. I went out and traded for Kenneth Walker. I think he's someone, if he can stay healthy, I think he has RB5 upside, in this new look Seattle offense. Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator. He was in New Orleans with Alvin Kamara, and we saw Alvin Kamara eat for multiple years on end. Is there injury concern? 100%. But I think that if we get a healthy Kenneth Walker who can also, he runs the ball and had, 8th most broken tackles last year, according to PFF. And he's someone who catches the ball as well. I think if those things merge together, I think you can see a great season out of Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, the receiving work for Kenneth Walker is what I like the most. I'm looking at his game log from last year, and sure, there's a bunch of missing spots there due to the injury. But when he's on the field, he's getting passing work. He in week 16. He went 8 for 31 on the ground, so that could be a killer for your week.
Yep.
Then he fought, but to add on top of that, he has 8 targets, 8 receptions, 28 yards.
Yes.
So all those PPR points, he ends up finishing with 14 on the week. So that receiving work, it saves your week. If he's struggling to run the ball, that can add on to those points.
Yep. So we are now at the 407. Terrell, you have gone Puka Nacua, Ashton Jeanty, Kyron Williams, and you are on the clock. What are you looking?
Yeah, I think I did pigeonhole myself with the Kyron Williams and Puka.
That's okay.
Those are 2 good guys to do it
Those
with.
are 2
I
good.
was not looking
Those
at
listen.
that.
Those
I
are
was
2
just
great
looking at
guys to
my-
have. And the other thing you got to think of, this is the first mock draft for
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
We make
Right.
our mistakes
We're shaking
now.
the cobwebs. We're
Yeah.
shaking the cobwebs.
You make your mistakes now, so you
Exactly.
don't do it when it comes time for it.
Some offenses are okay to have.
Oh
Right,
yeah.
right,
When's the
right.
last time you went a full summer only doing 1 mock draft?
Yeah. Never. So
Looking at the board, I definitely have to go wide out again.
do you have to go wide out? Yeah.
It's my strategy. I think this is a reach.
Okay.
I think I want to go DK though.
Tell me why.
I like receivers that are like the one, right? So
Okay.
I know DK is going to get all of the targets from Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, okay.
If he creates a good bond with him, I think his ceiling
It's
is
pretty
super
tough these
high.
days.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, listen, I love the logic. The logic is sound. You know what I mean? I think if we were doing this mock draft a week ago, I would be saying, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now we know that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, right? George Pickens is not there. The next
Right.
best wide receiver who's there is Calvin Austin, right? I think Van Jefferson's there. Like,
Yeah.
there really isn't anyone to yeah.
Austin get hurt.
Yeah, but like, so he has no one really to compete for targets, and if he does build that connection with Aaron Rodgers and become that alpha wide receiver 1, I think those are good things for fantasy because we trust Mike Tomlin to always have a good team. Aaron Rodgers wasn't completely washed when he was in New York last year, so it could work. I see the vision. But in between Terrell's pick and his next pick that's going to be coming up, DJ Moore is going off the board. Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Zay Flowers, Mike Evans. There's Omarion Hampton. Sam Laporta as the fourth tight end off the board. Chuba Hubbard, Devontae Smith, Cortland Sutton. Now is come back to you, Terrell, and your pick is.
All right. 2 backs, 2 receivers. I got to fill out this flex. So I'm the type of fantasy guy, if I can't get a good QB like early or a good tight end early, I'm just waiting.
Yep.
I
feel
wait
that
on the back end for those guys, and I'll just fill out depth all in between. So I'm probably going to go with, in a PPR league, I'll go with my guy George Yeah. I'll go George Pickens.
There you go.
Stand your ground.
Yeah,
Stand your ground.
Got it.
Stand on business.
A couple reaches on these picks, but I'll take them.
Listen,
When you're in those middle rounds,
there's
there's a lot of waiting time in those middle rounds. So if you like a guy, I don't even think it's considered a reach.
No,
Yep.
you take your guy. You like your guy. You know, if you like the guy, you take him. All right, so I am now up here at the 507. Here now is where I think I'm gonna continue to try the strategy of taking wide receivers with great opportunity. I'm looking here at a couple of names. I like, I said when we were talking about George Pickens, I do like Xavier Worthy. I would take him above him, but there's one wide receiver that I'm looking at that I want to test out and see, what he has in his rookie season. And it's going to be Tedoroa McMillan. The reason why, we're sticking with high volume wide receivers, I think Tedoroa McMillan, if he can build that relationship with Bryce Young, I think there's just going to be targets galore. He's the only wide receiver in this, outside of Travis Hunter, because we don't know how many wide receiver reps he's going to get, but outside of Travis Hunter, Tedoroa McMillan is an alpha where he is going to demand targets and need those targets. So that's my logic.
Yeah, I'm in on Tet this year. I like him a lot. It's a great situation. It's a team that was desperate for a one. Young quarterback in Bryce Young, who showed some promise towards the end of last year. So I think it's a great marriage there.
Yeah.
I don't like him, but he does look good.
He does.
He does look good. He
does. So in between Wu and I's pick was Xavier Worthy. I saw a little fist bump out of the corner of my eye as I was talking about it. Wu, tell me why.
Because the guy I'm going to take didn't get picked. It's going to be running back from Arizona, James Conner. The guy's a workhorse. He is getting up there in age, but this is redraft, so I'm not worried about it when it comes to a one season basis. The thing for James Conner is, like I said, he's a workhorse. He's going to get 15 plus touches every single week.
Right.
The guy will run through your chest. He does not care who is in front of him. He is a bulldozer. And there is minimal passing work, but there are some weeks where it kind of spikes up a little bit, and that's just some added benefit there. So yeah, I'm all in on James Conner this year. I was really impressed with what the Cardinals did last year. I'm not going to lie, going into the season, with the new head coach, I wasn't really a fan. I thought he was kind of strange, and sometimes those things do not work out. And I was impressed by them. I thought they weren't the best team, but I think they're somewhere in that middle range. I think they've added some appropriate pieces and given the right guys the right money, kind of set themselves up for success. And they still have Kyler Murray, who I still think there's more there that has yet to come out. And I'm expecting it to this year. So I think this is going to be an above-average offense, if not a great offense. So I want the running back who's going to be a part of it.
Are you nervous, Wu, of James Conner being north of 30 years old and getting those 15 touches a game that he could potentially break down in the middle of the season? Because, listen, other than last year, James Conner was another guy that you could book it. He was not going to play 16 games, you know what I mean, or 17 games. So, is that a concern for you?
It is. It's definitely not an ideal scenario. But when first 4 rounds, I didn't touch a running back, and for him to be my running back one, I'm happy in this situation because of the guys that I already have on my team. And yes, it is a concern. He is 30. And like you said, because he's going to have all those touches, is this going to affect him, being able to play that full season? He has had injury troubles in the past, but I'm not going to sit here and predict an injury.
Yeah. No, I like it. All right, Ty, you are up here at the 5'10". You've gone Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, T. Higgins, Jalen Hurts, and you're up. What are you thinking? It gets rough in these middle rounds, huh?
I'm looking at receiver. And the three
Good.
The three names, the three names are just three guys that are just the biggest question marks in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them are just because they just can't stay healthy.
Yep. Potentially three of them because
I mean he's got his own problems, but like that's where that's where I actually think I'm going. He has just speed that you can't teach, and that has potential for like boom that you just can't get anywhere else.
Oh yeah,
that speed is just something you can't teach. Yeah, I'm gonna take Jameson.
Yes,
well, that's not who I thought you were talking about.
That's exactly who I thought
you were talking about Jalen Waddle.
No, but listen, Jameson Williams is someone who came on strong. He finally stepped in. I think he was the first. What pick was he? He was
9.
in the first round. He was 9, right?
He was supposed to be the first. Actually, no. He might have dropped a little bit. He was supposed to be the first wide receiver off the board that year before he tore his ACL.
Right. Tore his ACL. And then the year he's finally healthy, he has these gambling problems. Dealing with injuries. He finally got meaningful playing time and had a great season. Had 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. 91 targets. The one thing that concerns me with the Jameson Williams side is that, can he still have a hold on that number 2 option, for targets? Because, you look at this Lions offense and you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's always going to get his work. Mm-hmm. You have Jameson Williams. You have Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. David Montgomery also catches passes out of the backfield. And, Sam Laporta was a rookie tight end who was the tight end 1. Like, there's so many mouths to feed. And if Jameson Williams established himself as the number 2 target, I just hope he holds that and it can improve on what he did last year.
I think the end of the year showed that that is his spot.
His role.
The end of the year showed when they needed to count on somebody, they were going to him.
Yeah.
Third down plays, they're going to him to go win one-on-one routes. That's, to me, when you see that, you're like, oh, they believe in him.
Yeah.
To me, that's huge.
And the thing I'm just looking at his box scores, from week 14 to 18, he had 8 targets, 5 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets. Like that's what you want, in a fantasy wide receiver, someone who's going to go out there and get you, 7+ targets a game, because those are just opportunities for, potential, major fantasy points. And you said it yourself, Ty, like he's got speed. He's got speed you can't teach. You know what I mean? And if he has
every time he touches,
if he has 8 chances to do it, I'm gonna take that all day long.
Yeah.
All right. So Ty is up again, but in between Ty's pick of Jameson Williams and his pick now, David Montgomery has gone off the board. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Olave, and then Jordan Addison. Ty, you are on the board or on the clock.
As much as I want to hurt you right now and take Junkins, I won't.
What are you talking about? That's not who I was going to take.
No, because I actually believe this guy, coming off an injury in Minnesota, loves a tight end.
T.J. Hockenson.
Minnesota loves a tight end, and T.J. Hockenson is disgusting. He is always winning one-on-one matchups. He's open in the red zone at all times. He just wins. He's a very good tight end. And coming off that injury, everybody knows it's like, some guys are very good when they come back, but give me a year and see what he is after that. I think he's ready for a big year.
Yeah, I think we talked about him. I think it was in an episode or 2 ago. Saying how Hockenson could be a huge, helpful asset for J.J. McCarthy. With young quarterbacks, being a safety net target. Kind of that last ditch effort if he's got nothing. Find the big body tight end target. So I think that I like the pick a lot.
Yeah, I love the pick as well. But Wu, you are on the clock. 6:04. Is Judkins your pick?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's Quinshon Judkins. I mean, this was my plan coming in all along. Just so happened that it worked out with the question, at the top of the show. To get a running back 1 in the 6th round, who is going to maybe he won't be a workhorse right off the bat, but he is going to have a majority of these touches. And also just me being such a huge fan of the talent after going through the draft process and watching the film from Ohio State and Ole Miss, I love everything I saw. It only took a couple plays from that college state for me to say like this guy can be a 3-down back in the NFL.
Absolutely. Judkins I think is gonna be a smash play. The only thing that worries me is how long can Cleveland stay in games in order for him to get that work?
It's fair. It's fair.
They're going to be such a bad team, and my worry is by like second or like half of second quarter, they're already out of this game and they have to throw the ball in order to get back into the game, and that hurts Judkins because he's not as good of a pass catcher as some of the other guys you may see. Ford or Sampson, you get some playing time, and does that hurt his total overall fantasy performance? Could be a potential red flag right there.
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Yeah. So I am up. I was really hoping that Judkins was going to be there for me for my second running back. He is not. I was then also hoping that R.J. Harvey was going to be there, but he was taken by Team 8.
I don't think Denver trusts him.
You don't think Denver trusts R.J. Harvey?
They signed J.K. One Leg.
Yeah, I don't think I think that it's just adding depth to that
so?
backfield. I think who they don't trust is Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime and Tyler Bidet. I don't think they trust any of those guys. So it's why not get someone like J.K. Dobbins to go in and back up R.J. Harvey? Because I think
it's Sean Payton.
Sean Payton's in love with R.J. Harvey.
He loves running backs. He'll throw 7 of them out there. He doesn't
care.
care.
Exactly. So I was willing to go Harvey here with my pick here at 606. I still need another running back, and I'm looking at where running backs are going to be coming back to me. I think are still not up to snuff, coming back. So I'm going to take one now. I'm in between two guys, and they're on two opposite sides of the spectrum of their careers. You got one guy who's just starting out. You got another guy who, feels like he's ending, but coming off of a 1,000-yard season, I think I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to go Aaron Jones here. Aaron Jones, for those of you guys who didn't pay attention, had 1,000 rushing yards, which was such a like crazy thing to me. Always have loved Aaron Jones as the player when he was in Green Bay.
Big UConn fan.
Yeah, how old is Aaron Jones? I know you
30.
have it. 30. That's someone in redraft I'd be willing to roll the dice on, because you look at this offense, J.J. McCarthy's there. It's not Sam Darnold, who I think if Sam Darnold was there, maybe Jones takes a step back. But, McCarthy's there. He's essentially a rookie, and he's going to need reliable pieces. And someone like Aaron Jones coming out of the backfield and, seeing what he has, in the running game, I think he could be really good in 2025.
He had the most rushing yards of his career last year.
I didn't know that. That's just
1138.
Yeah,
he's done 11 3 times, and that was the most.
Yeah, and I'm not projecting him to have 1,000 rushing yards again, but I think he gets somewhere close to it, maybe like between 800 and 950. But it's the stuff he's going to get in the receiving game that's also going to prop him up and make him a good fantasy option. So you are up, Terrell, here at the 607. So far, your team is Puka, Genti, Kyron Williams, DK Metcalf, George Pickens. You are on the clock. You have not taken a quarterback. Is that where you're looking right now? No, we're not looking quarterback.
I'm going to wait on a quarterback.
Okay.
I think I'll go Jerry Jeudy.
All right. Tell me why.
Fill in that flex spot. Like you guys said, we don't know how good Cleveland is going to be. They're going to be in and out of games like the whole year. So, who's their quarterback over there? Like, we don't know.
Yet to be seen.
They have 4. They have 4 to pick from. They might go one every quarter.
So I'll lay it out for you, Terrell. So it's Flacco, Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Out of those 4, who do you think is the Week 1 starter?
Probably Joe Flacco.
I was gonna say that's the easy answer.
Probably Joe Flacco.
So,
week 4, 5, 6. Now you're probably looking at one of those rookies they drafted.
Yeah.
So I hope it's Shedeur Sanders. It was crazy he slipped like that.
Yes.
Come on.
Absolutely. So the question is can Jeudy, be able to switch between Flacco, then Gabe, like all of these multiple quarterbacks. I think he showed that last year. Like I was gonna say he finally broke out last year. He was, first round draft pick back in 2020. He's always struggled in Denver. He finally comes to Cleveland and finally has his first 1,000-yard season. No surprise, Jameis was in key in part in that. Yeah. But who knows? Like maybe he continues on the back of that.
Also, maybe he finally figured out to stop dropping the ball.
Oh my God! I remember seeing someone put a Twitter video out. Like this was a couple years ago of his drops in Denver, and they were so bad.
Listen, he knows how to get open. His problem has been catching the ball.
Yes.
He gets open.
Yep.
It's just he has problem catching the ball.
Absolutely, I would agree. So in between Terrell's pick of Judy and now his next pick, 10 players have gone off the board. Jalen Waddle, Travis Hunter, Chris Godwin, and then we had a crazy run of running backs of Isaiah Pacheco, Tyrone Tracy, Tony Pollard, Travion Henderson, Travis Kelce, Brian Robinson, DeAndre Swift. Terrell, you are now on the clock, 7:06.
Thank God I took my running backs when I did.
Absolutely, right? Oh, my
God.
God. It is rough in the streets here for these running backs because, listen, I'm going to give you some more time, Terrell, to think it over. But me here at the 7:07, it was – I hope I was taking one of those because I was hoping maybe I could catch another one of these coming back, and I didn't. But thank God I took where I did. So, Terrell, you are on the clock, my friend. Where are we going?
I think I got to go quarterback now, huh?
Okay.
Let me look at the quarterbacks really quick.
There are some names here that I like.
Yeah.
So I could.
There's one name that's still sitting there, and I can't believe he's still sitting here. I thought for sure he would go a round ago.
Yep.
I want to fill out my starters just so I'll go Baker.
Yeah.
I mean Baker is he's been a fantasy like god. I don't know, man. What was he last year? Like QB8 or something like that?
QB4. He had an amazing year.
Yep. So I mean
4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, which is But, the other thing, too, and I pointed this out when we did our year in review series, Baker had 378 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And, if you get – I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but, if a quarterback can give you around 350, rushing yards that, and a couple of touchdowns, that's just enough to get you kind of over the hump of, those top 5 quarterbacks. Now, the question is, he's not going to have Godwin to start the year. They did draft Ibuka.
Right.
Can he reproduce what he did last year? I don't know.
Different offense.
It is definitely a different offense, right? I believe the names escape me. I think it's John Morton is the offensive coordinator from Denver. Liam Cohen leaves and goes to Jacksonville, but I think there are enough pieces that are still there that I think it's going to be business as usual. So now I am up on the clock. Glad a quarterback went off the board, but I'm looking here. I think I'm going to need a wide receiver. I don't like the options here that I see at tight end. Tight end might be something that I am punting to the end, which is totally fine. But as I look, there are a couple of names that I do like here for wide receiver depth. There's one person in particular that I'm willing to roll the dice on. I know who's going to hate me for it, but it's going to be Roma Dunze, wide receiver out of Chicago. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Roma Dunze is poised to have a big year, all right? You have Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator coming in. You have a year for him to develop as a pro, a full off season with him and Caleb to kind of build that connection. And it's just, I think this offense, it has to fire on all cylinders, right? Like this has to be a high flying offense. And Roma Dunze, for being essentially the third wide receiver in this offense last year, he had 100 targets. You know what I mean? So I think it's only up for Roma Dunze. He was the 9th pick in the first round of this team, and you can't not give this guy targets.
Yeah, I can't wait for Rome this year. I really hope, because there's so many guys there now. Like Ben Johnson has all the toys. They've filled out every position now. Caleb Williams has every possible weapon he could ever ask for. I just really hope Rome kind of takes that path to the top.
Yeah.
Want to talk about too many mouths to feed, though.
I agree. I've said it before.
Talk about too many mouths to feed.
But
they drafted a tight end and a wide receiver with their first 2 picks.
Right. Which crazy thing I will say, I just saw this morning. I think there's 40 players in the NFL who have not signed their rookie contracts. 30 of those players have come from the second round. And so Luther Burden's one of them. He hasn't signed his rookie deal. And the whole reason why, I know we're getting off on the sidebar, but I guess this is all because of Jaden Higgins, and I can't remember who the other player was, but they both got fully guaranteed deals as second round picks. So everybody else in the second round is holding off, and they want fully guaranteed deals. Does that cause problems going into training camp, and then Luther Burden's not there to get those meaningful reps? Maybe then Roma Dunze kind of is able to you start to see the fog clear a little bit, and there's some clarity in the options. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But between my pick and Wu's pick was Jonnu Smith. So Wu, you were on the clock. You have gone so far: Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams, James Conner, and Quinshon Judkins. You have not taken a quarterback yet. Is this where you take the quarterback?
I think it is because I was looking at receiver here to fill out.
Somebody's mad on the other side of the table.
I'm not mad. I have my.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to say. So originally I was thinking, go wide receiver here. The last three, the three teams behind me all have quarterbacks, so I don't really have to worry about them taking one unless they want to.
Yep.
But to be honest, I'm not really sold on some of the receiver names here. And I just went back-to-back running backs. I'm just trying to fill out that last flex, and I do think I want to go receiver for that spot. So I figured I might as well just take a guy here that I know for a fact I can get since it is my pick. And I am stuck between two guys. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I do lean here, Bo Nix.
Yeah. I'm curious to see who was the other guy that you were thinking about.
Kyler Murray.
I
wanted somebody.
I knew that's who I had.
I wanted somebody with rushing upside.
Yeah.
There are other names here. I like Herbert. I like Goff. I like Caleb Williams. Like there's a bunch of names here that if I ended up with any one of those guys, I'd be happy. But since I have the opportunity to get him, I'm going to take Bo Nix. I was very impressed with the rushing ability that he had last year. I'm not sure if that kind of came out when rookie quarterbacks come in and the game's moving so fast and they feel like that's kind of like their last ditch effort of trying to pick up some yards and they're not seeing the reads correctly. But it looked like even as he was progressing throughout the season and the offense was clicking and everything looked really well, especially in a very complex Sean Payton offense, the rushing was still a part of his game. So I love any kind of rushing upside for a quarterback I'm in on. He had a game here where he had 10 rushing attempts, 9 rushing attempts, 8 7. I think he's going to be in a really good spot here too. I don't think it's going to be a crazy rushing number. He had 430 rushing yards last year. If he's in the Baker range, if he's in like that 300 to 350 yards, I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. All right. So Ty, you are now up at the 7-10. You filled out your onesie positions. Now it's rolling for depth.
Yeah, so after taking Jameson Williams, in my eyes, I wanted to get a receiver that is like consistent.
Okay.
And there's nobody who's more consistent than Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, there he is.
There is
I knew it.
nobody in the world more consistent than Jacoby
And he's got a better
Myers,
quarterback this year. Like
who also finds his one guy and just targets the hell out of him. Ask JSN.
Yep. Right. But I think even though he finds his one guy, though, I think he facilitates enough to – because, his one guy could be Brock Bowers. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think Jameson Williams is a – such a safety net target and a sure-handed receiver that, quarterbacks go back to him again and again and again. I like that pick a lot.
He finished wide receiver 19.
Yep.
19, 24, 28. I get as my third receiver, I can't be mad.
I was gonna say, another thing too, for the the people at home, when you're building your roster, like it's okay to have someone who's gonna hit those singles and doubles, right? Because if you take enough players who those home run potential, you got to have someone who's gonna give you some floor that gives you enough fantasy points on a week-to-week basis.
Absolutely.
So in between Ty's pick of Jacoby Myers and his pick now, Mark Andrews is going off the board, Calvin Ridley, Najee Harris, and Khalil Shakir. So Ty, you are now up at the 803. Where are you looking?
Jesus.
I don't know if he can help you here.
To be honest with you, I'm looking at running back. And it's just like the running backs that are left. It's just like, are they going to get work? Are they not going to get work? I would love. Yeah, I know who you're saying, but like, that's also a team that could be here. He could be here on that team.
Yeah,
and that's who I was looking at. But I also Pittsburgh runs the ball, and I don't think Jaylen Warren is a one first down, second down back. I think he's a strictly third down back. And
if he was, this guy wouldn't be on the team.
Yeah. And also watching Johnson play at Iowa that is Pittsburgh of college football.
Oh, it is. 100%.
That is Pittsburgh of college football. Like, just
I love
run
that
the
pick.
ball between the tackles and go get his 5 yards. He's great.
It feels like as I'm like looking at it, like Sleeper has undervalued these these rookies by a ton. Caleb Johnson should not be an 8th round pick.
No.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I think you getting him like in the 8th round is such a steal. And again, we're doing this on June 14th.
Yeah.
Things are totally fluid and could change, but taking Caleb Johnson here in the 8th round is such a steal. It's incredible. So Wu, you are up now at the 804. I feel as though you would have taken Caleb Johnson if he was still there.
Yeah, it was definitely a name I was looking at. I do think, though, that for the purposes of this draft, I want to have this last flex spot be a wide receiver.
Okay.
Just where we are in the draft. If I had taken some more running backs early, that might have changed my thought process here. But just because of how I've drafted so far, that is kind of the route I want to take, and just with the range of names I'm looking at. So to do this last receiver, it's going to be Stephon Diggs.
Ooh.
Hate the team. But
D1
man,
Patriots hater, as he says.
oh my God. I was a 5-star.
That's the other guy I was also looking at. I just didn't want to go receiver.
I think he fits. So in my mind, when I was going through this draft, I'm trying to take as much advantage of the PPR scoring format as possible.
Of course.
And I feel like I've achieved that, especially with the Stephon Diggs pick. Listen, there's a lot of hype about the Patriots. And if I'm taking my bias cap off, like, listen, the roster has gotten better.
Yep.
They bring in a new head coach. They bring back an old friend with Josh McDaniels. Like, there's a lot of good things trending in the right direction. I will give you that. But we need to pump the brakes a little bit on the Patriots, okay? I know the schedule is the easiest in the NFL. There's all these things. I hear them all. I understand them all. But the roster last year was so bad. You cannot fix that in one off season. Yes, I expect them to be better. The winning 10 games arguments that I've been hearing, especially living in New England, I can't listen to it anymore. So when it comes to Stephon Diggs, I mean, we know how bad that Patriots wide receiver room is. It's night and day that Stephon Diggs will be the number one option for this offense. And I think we've seen the talent of Stephon Diggs over the course of his career. Sure, he's 30 now, coming off an ACL, I believe.
Yes, ACL.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, the age and the injury, a little tough. When he's going to be my 4th wide receiver on my team, I'm not totally concerned. I think the PPR scoring here works really well for him. I think he'll be a nice quick throw option for Drake May. And Drake May does have an arm. So if they start to stretch him out down the field, I think there's really good opportunities there for him.
Absolutely. Good. I like the pick. So in between Wu and I's pick was Jaylen Warren. I am on the clock here. My team so far, CeeDee Lamb, Lad McConkey, Jaden Daniels, Kenneth Walker, Tedoroa McMillan, Aaron Jones, and Roma Dunze. So I'm sitting here at the 806. I want to fill the rest of my roster. There's a name that I want to take right here, but I'm gonna play the ADP game, and I'm gonna pray that he gets back to me. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna I need some running back depth. I can't go into the season right now with just Kenneth Walker and Aaron Jones. So I'm looking at some names, but the one name that I'm gonna roll the dice with and take the pick on is Travis Etienne. Listen, Travis Etienne's last year was putrid. Like we totally understand that. He ended up losing touches to Tank Bigsby. They draft Byshell Tootin in the draft, and they think Byshell Tootin's going to be someone who's going to usurp Travis Etienne and take on a much bigger role. I'm not ready to say that right this second. Last episode, we talked about offenses that are going to bring potential fantasy gold, and he talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I totally think that Travis Etienne is going to have a bounce back season. You look at when Liam Cohen was in Tampa Bay, he picked his one guy and kind of stuck with it. Yes, Rachaad White got some work, but it was the Bucky show in the second half of the season. And I think Travis Etienne, who is a first round pick, I think is still the most talented running back in this backfield. And I think he shows it and is able to kind of reclaim the role of like being that RB1 in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I love the idea of Liam Cohen bringing over that same running attitude that he had in Tampa Bay. If that's the case, I think Travis Etienne is a great value.
Yeah. All right, Terrell, you are up here at the 807. I think the only position you haven't taken is tight end, but you can go anywhere here if you want.
I'm definitely gonna wait on a tight end.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go Deebo Samuel with this pick. I think a change of scenery is perfect for him.
Oh yeah.
I think a full off season with Jaden Daniels as well. It's like something's gonna click there. He's still Debo.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm nervous though. I don't think he gets the rushing attempts like he did in.
yeah, but that's
But I think that plays well for where he's at in his career. Yeah.
Okay.
It's better for him. Let him be a receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let him be a receiver. Don't run him between the tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, he's the guy that, you know, I think is better than any option that they had last year. You know, how much does Debo have left in the tank? I think he's got enough to be fantasy relevant for this fantasy season.
I mean, he's only 29.
He is 29, but we do talk about, you know, when wide receivers hit age 30 and they hit that, you know, 30 cliff. I think he's going to turn 30 during this season. You know, so I think if there's 1 year to cash in on a good season from Deebo Samuel, I think this is the year. So in between Terrell's pick of Debo and his current pick now, we had Jared Goff go off the board. We had a couple of quarterbacks go off the board. Jared Goff, then Cooper Kupp, then Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Evan Ingram, Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Reed in the 9th round, I feel like is a steal. Ricky Pearsall in the 9th round is also a steal. And then Zach Charbonnet. Terrell, you are up at the 906.
So I'm either looking at depth at running back, but
Okay.
I don't know if I want to go with him. I think I'll just fill out this starting lineup. I'll go David Njoku.
Okay.
I like that.
Slot.
I like that. I like that. You know, David Njoku, I think did he play a full season? I can't remember. Was this last year, the year he had a full season?
I think
When he was
he was tight end
I think
6.
he missed a couple games this year.
He missed a couple games, right?
Missed a couple.
Yeah. He played 11 games last year, but so it was 2 years ago when he was the tight end 6.
Yep.
But you know, last year, even only playing 11 games, had 97 targets. You know, hopefully, you know, I think the number one thing always with Njoku is health, right? You know, when he does play, you know, full season, he does, you know, pretty much pretty good. But now it's the quarterback question of, you know, who does he get? You know, is it going to be Shadur, Gabriel, Flacco? But you know, he's such a freak athlete that I love to pick.
Him though, also that they don't know who's the quarterback, like we talk about with young guys.
Yep.
When you're a quarterback coming in, your tight end is your safety blanket.
100%.
And that's a good safety blanket to have.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Joker.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I'm up here at the 907. I gambled and it worked. I wanted to take Tyler Warren. I'm taking Tyler Warren now. Listen.
I knew that's
listen. Tyler Warren's going to eat this year. I'm telling you right now.
Want to talk about quarterback play in Cleveland?
Listen, it's solid, but now it is solidified. I think with the injury to Anthony Richardson right now, Daniel Jones is going to play at least 12 games.
Yeah, but I also saw something yesterday that said he is fine.
That Richardson
was fine.
Oh, I saw something that he was going to get a second opinion from another doctor. I was gonna say
soreness, like shoulder soreness.
But it's the same shoulder that he had surgery on 2 years ago when he only played 4 games his rookie year. So, listen, we talked about, you know, Brock Bowers at the top of this draft, right, where he had absolutely nobody's and he was the tight end 1. Brock Bowers is listen, I don't think Tyler Warren is at the same caliber as Brock Bowers, but I do think he's close to it, where I think he's somebody that can establish himself as the number 1 option. You know, I think outside of, you know, Michael Pittman and then Josh Downs, there's not much to compete for targets. So, you know, I think Tyler Warren's a smash play here in the 9th round, and I'm glad to take him.
That puts me up now.
Yep. So now in between my pick and Woo's pick, Matthew Golden has gone off the board. Woo's boy.
It's just Snipe City, man.
It is. So now, Woo, you are sitting here at the 909. You've now been sniped. You got to go another option.
Yeah, I have.
I don't know, man. Oh, you got it already.
I do. Because Golden was the pick.
Okay.
But I'm going to stick with that rookie class.
Yes.
Cam Scatterbo.
I love that pick.
I only had 2 running backs on my roster so far. And, you know, since I waited so long, the range of running backs that I've been seeing the last few rounds not completely sold on, so I figured I'd kick it down the road a little bit. And when I saw Scatterbo still here, I think, you know, he was, a 4th round pick?
Yes.
He was day 2.
I can vet that for you.
Sure. But anyway, so for Cam Scatterbo, I mean, to play at Arizona State and to be 4th in the Heisman voting as a running back is incredible, especially in years where, in a year where we had Ashton Genty just run away with it. Travis Hunter, and then also have Ashton Genty right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
So a very hyped up Heisman class, and for him to be 4th in those rankings, I think that kind of gets swept under the rug and nobody really remembers that. And then we look at the college football playoff that he had. He almost single-handedly beat Texas by himself. He was one Quinn Ewers dime away from completing that. For Cam Scatterbo here, he gets drafted by the Giants. Not the greatest draft capital behind him, which makes me a little nervous. But when I look at the rest of the depth chart, it's Tyrone Tracy ahead of him. And listen, this is not a knock on Tyrone Tracy, but if Cam Scatterbo is going to beat out anybody to increase his usage and jump somebody on the depth chart, like Tyrone Tracy is one of those guys that he can beat out.
Absolutely. And I think we talked about this last episode with our NFC offseason recap. The number one thing that gets you off the field in the NFL as a running back is fumbles. And if Ramondre Stevenson didn't have this generational year last year of the amount of fumbles he had, we'd be talking about Tyrone Tracy and the amount of fumbles that he had. So I think if fumbles start to become an issue this upcoming season with Tyrone Tracy, I don't think Daboll hesitates to yank him and put in Scatterbo. So now, Ty, you were at the 9-10. You only got 3 picks left in this draft, but you filled out your roster now. It's all here for depth. So where are we looking here for depth? We going receiver? We going running back?
I'm going receiver. I'm going to go with my guy that I said at the top of the show. I'm going to go with the Mecca.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm going to go with the Mecca.
That was a name I was looking at late.
Nice. And listen, I appreciate you sticking with your guy and wanting to you go and get him, because listen, and this isn't any knock on Emeka Egbuka the player, but I think people are, he's down on boards right now, but I think once training camp starts and they start to see him perform, I think it's going to be a no-brainer that Emeka Egbuka is going to show up.
Keep staying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Keep staying down
but no, that's a great pick. So now, between that pick and your pick now, Ty, Michael Pittman, Javonte Williams, Josh Downs, Caleb Williams have gone off the board. Now you are back to take another player.
To me, that's also crazy that we're talking about the Bears offense and Caleb Williams going in the 10th round.
I know.
Yeah.
to me,
it
is
true.
Insane. Probably going another receiver again.
Can't go wrong with more receivers.
And I think he's going to have a big second year. I think Keon Coleman is going to have a big year. I also think it might be touchdown dependent.
Okay.
But I just think it
I was going to say, you got to sell me on this one, because I'm not a believer.
I can get why people aren't a believer, but one, I'm a Florida State guy.
Yeah.
Watching him at Florida State, that kid is just an athletic freak. In the NFL, I'm not saying this is consistent and will stick, but guys like that can go for 14 touchdowns one year and then 2 the next year. He just has the athletic ability on one-on-one catches that, maybe those 50-50 catches he didn't get last year
start to go his way.
Yeah.
It changes.
Yeah.
And I think this late, I'm willing to take a chance on a guy that could potentially blow up touchdown-wise.
Yep.
For me, that's just my.
I was going to say, we're at the point now in this draft, I think most of us have all of our starting. Yeah, we're throwing darts here. And if you have a compelling argument on a player, you stay on that conviction and you stand on business and you take your player. So I can appreciate that. Wu, you were up at the 10:04.
Yeah, I thought I was going to go back to receiver, but I'm going running back here. It's Rachaad White.
Okay.
Like we literally just said, at this point in the draft, you're throwing darts. You're hoping for any kind of value. And 2 years ago, Rachaad White was the running back 4. Yes, I know Bucky Irving is here, and I obviously would never prey on any injuries, but God forbid anything happen to Bucky Irving, I have the running back 4 from 2 years ago on my team in the 10th round.
Yeah.
And who gets insane amount of passing work. And I think he still will, even with Bucky.
Absolutely. So in between Wu's pick and mine was Dalton Kincaid. I'm up now here at the 10:06. I am looking for more depth. I think my next pick here, I'm going down down the rankings, but I'm gonna take a rookie receiver here that I think has some major upside, and it's gonna be Jaden Higgins, rookie wide receiver out of Houston. We were talking about the AFC, 2 episodes ago. We talked about the AFC offseason, and when talking about Houston, I was in between, who the most impactful fantasy option was. I started to lean Jaden Higgins. I think him opposite to Nico Collins, it could be very dangerous. Like his comps coming out of the draft was Nico Collins, and he gets to play with him. I think, there's no one else really he has to compete for that wide receiver 2. I think Nico is established as the 1. Yeah. I think Higgins is the 2 outside. And I think, if there was someone to take eyes off of Nico Collins because of how big this person is, it's Jaden Higgins. So I'm going to go there with the 10:06.
I like the pick.
Yeah. Terrell, you are up 10:07. You went Njoku last round, so you're filled out. You can go anywhere you like for depth. So what do you like? What are you looking?
Yeah, I need running backs.
Okay.
Because I only have 2 on the roster so far. See, I don't know where Ramondre Stevenson's going to be at. Like, is it 1A, 1B type of situation there in New England? Like, what is
I think for now, I think sooner rather than later, it's going to be Travion Henderson.
1-2.
Yeah. And like two fumbles into the season, Ramondre, you're out.
Yeah, right. But like, listen, you could also take him now and take the bet that Travion Henderson doesn't take that step, and he
starting running back.
I was gonna say he's the early down guy, where Travion Henderson is the third down guy, because that's how Josh McDaniels likes to run his offense. Right. So that's a potential option.
Yeah, I think I'll go Ramondre Stevenson just to get some depth at that position.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you said, it's not a starter.
Right.
No, I was gonna say it's your third.
It's the 10th round. Yeah.
10th round, it's your third running back. Like you could have gone wrong.
Literally any kind of potential value you have to go for.
The guy.
Right.
There was a year where he was top 10, wasn't he?
Yes, I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
He was the running back. Oh no, sorry, 3 years, 22. He was the running back 7. And definitely struggled with some injuries the 2 years ago and the year before that. But
got awful offensive line.
Correct. Which they addressed in the offseason. So who knows? Maybe he's able to hold on to that role. And I think he signed an extension last year, so he is tied to that team. So
17 a year.
Really?
17 a year is wild.
No way, that's what he gets.
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna look at that. I was like, wait a minute.
So in between, in between Terrell's pick of Ramondre and his next pick, Colson Loveland, Jordan Love, Jake Ferguson, Brock Purdy, Darnell Mooney, Tank Bigsby, Tucker Kraft, Dak Prescott, Dallas Goedert, Tajay Spears. Terrell, this is your last pick of the 4th and Fantasy mock draft. Where you going?
There's some good quarterbacks that slip.
Yeah.
Like Love and Prescott's a good fantasy quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize.
Definitely something to consider for, as we go on through the year.
Stroud still hasn't been drafted.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Right? Caleb Williams went above him. But yeah, Terrell, so you've gone you've gotten everything. It's the last pick. Who are you going to take the late stab at?
Let me look at these names. I like Hollywood Brown for some reason. I just like him in that offense.
Okay.
I feel like if he sees the targets like early and often, I think he could be a good player moving forward in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was lighting the world on fire in Baltimore. He had some really sick years there.
Absolutely, and I think there were people, beat reporters, Kansas City beat reporters were interviewing Patrick Mahomes during OTAs and minicamps, and he was saying that they wanted to get Hollywood involved late in the season, but it was week 16. Right. You already have your tendencies and the guys you go to, so it's tough to get them involved. But for him to mention that and say they want to get him involved, if the number one thing with Hollywood Brown is always health. Right. But what
was it last year? A shoulder?
Foot. I think I can't remember what it was. But it was something that kind of kept him off the field, though, that, kept him off for a long time.
It was his shoulder.
There's a reason why the guy's talked about every single year.
Yes.
He clearly has the talent.
Right.
He
We're
does.
all just waiting for it to, actually happen. Year after year, everybody's like, oh, Hollywood could be, this could be it, this could be it. He has the talent. There's no doubt about that. We all watch it. He has it.
I agree.
And it'll be on a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
Right, and you can't beat that. So I am up with the last pick of my my draft here at the 11:07. I'm gonna go running back. I'm actually gonna go handcuffed right here. I'm gonna go Jordan Mason. Because here's the thing, Jordan Mason last year, yes, he's on a new team, but when he was the starting running back in San Francisco, he was the guy. You know what I mean? Like week 1, 28 carries, 147 yards and a touchdown. He went out of the first 3 out of the first 4 weeks, he had 100 yards rushing. You know, obviously he did fizzle out, but you know, Minnesota invested in him. You know what I mean? Yeah. They traded for him and then signed him to an extension. You know, this is taking the stab that, you know, listen, maybe Aaron Jones does take a step back and you know, if he's not as explosive as he was you know, last year when he had 1,000 yards, but now I have Jordan Mason to handcuff him. And so if he loses any touches, it's going to Jordan Mason and I have him on my roster. So
it's a smart pick.
That's great when you take Jones.
Yes.
To also go get Jordan Mason. That's
exactly.
A smart move.
Yeah. So in between my pick and Woo's pick was Trey Harris. But now, Woo, you are up. You have gone. You got your onesies positioned. You're taking a stab late round.
Yeah.
Who is it? I know who it is.
Yeah, we're gonna say he signed his contract. Luther Burden, welcome to the squad, baby. I did want to come in. I did want to leave this draft with one of those Bears pieces.
Okay.
Rome is probably throughout this whole summer and doing all these mocks, and when we get into actual drafts, Rome will probably be the name that I want the most. It's probably going to be a collection of Rome, Burden, Loveland, and you could probably sell me on DJ Moore. I'm a little iffy on him, but of those 3 to 4, like I want to try and get at least one of them in these drafts. So Rome didn't work out earlier. So Luther Burden's here is next on the list. Mm-hmm. Again, assuming he can sign his contract and get on the field with the Bears, but I mean, I've talked about the Bears for like I don't even know how many months now. Everybody knows my thoughts here. I expect it to be a much improved offense. I am a Caleb Williams believer. Yep. Ben Johnson joins the fold here. I expect the offensive creativity and efficiency to increase. And Burden, the college tape was ridiculous. You can be so creative with this guy. I think it's a perfect pairing with Ben Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ben Johnson can have a field day and have all kind of plays up his sleeve, specifically for Burden, if he can get onto the field and work his way into this offense. And it is – I don't think his first year will have an insane amount of production. I do think it's going to take some time here for him to work himself in. But in this 11th round, if I can get a talent who
throw your shots.
Going off of that college tape, like some of those plays were just insane.
It's insane.
So I'm gonna take a shot here.
I love that pick. Absolutely. All right, Ty, you were up last pick out of all of us. I don't know, man. What are you feeling?
There's a really good quarterback on the board. I don't know if you heard of him before.
Is it Justin Fields that we're talking about here?
No,
not just
when
them.
I talk about throwing darts, to me, it's just like this is another guy waiting for the potential to actually show on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Penix as his quarterback, he could actually have a year.
Are we buying into the hype?
Oh, no.
I buy into it every summer. Every summer I buy
You get burned every year.
I buy into it every summer.
Say his name, Ty. You say his name.
I mean, I don't hate taking him here. It's just like it's the remorse of doing it so many times in so many leagues.
Just rip the Band-Aid. Rip the Band-Aid off. Rip it off.
Give me Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. Yeah, man. Listen, I feel like we say it every year. It could happen. It could happen.
I want it to happen so bad.
I think everybody does. I don't. I've never heard somebody be like, no, don't want
another guy with crazy college tape.
Yes.
Crazy.
Can you believe Kyle Pitts is only 24 years old? Still only 24 years old.
He was just also. There's another guy on there. Tank Bigsby's only 22.
Yeah.
What are we talking?
Yeah.
He's been in the NFL for like 4 years.
No, I mean I think the thing with him though is that like he doesn't have that that dual threat ability of catching.
Yeah.
He's strictly a runner.
Kyle Pitts is just
I like that.
What could be, and him and Penix showed a little something at the end of the year. So
yeah,
I don't mind taking a stab.
So now the draft is done. What we're gonna do, we're gonna go around the table. I want everyone to read off their roster. Tell me what how you feel about it. What could be an area of need during the season. And things like that going forward. So Terrell, I'm gonna start with you. So go ahead and read it from top to bottom, from QB down for your positions.
I got Puka, Genty, Kyron Williams, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Jerry Jeudy, Mayfield at my quarterback, Debo, Njoku, Ramondre Stevenson, and Hollywood Brown.
Nice. How you feel about it?
Looking at my team, I probably could have went more depth at the running back position, but we're in a double flex.
Yeah.
So it's.
But you also went Genty and Kyron. Like that's an awesome 1-2 punch.
You went two big names.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I wish I waited on a quarterback, honestly.
Even more, yeah.
Yeah, Baker's good in fantasy, but there's still Kyler fell beneath him, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott. Justin Fields went on that last pick from the computer.
Yeah.
Come on.
He had to go.
That's where I'm probably kicking myself right there, taking Baker in the 7th. But
it
is what it is. You live and you learn.
You live and you learn.
In fact, this is mock draft number 1.
Right. Yeah, just number 1. There's going to be hundreds more. All right, Ty, go ahead. Read your roster off. Tell me what you like about it, what you don't.
Alrighty. Hurts at quarterback, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, T.J. Hawkinson, Jacoby Myers, Caleb Johnson, Emeka Mbuka, Keon Coleman, and Kyle Pitts. Looking back on it, I am heavy dependent on touchdowns from my running back and quarterback.
Yeah.
I am boom or bust at wideout. The definition of boom or bust at wideout.
Yes, T. Higgins, Jameson Williams back to back.
That is the definition of boom or bust. But the way I look, this is the old school way of building a team. This is the definition of the old school.
Running back, and then fill it out.
If these two running backs are what they could be, to me, that team, I am one of the top teams in fantasy because of my running backs and the production they can have, the carries, the yards, the touchdowns. It's huge. Am I weak at wideout? Yeah, of course. But
it helps when you have those two names.
Yeah, when you have those running backs, I'm okay with. But that's also why, looking back, like I said, taking Jacoby Myers, like I said when I took those two running backs, where you can get your consistent 12, 15 points out of your wideout.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's why you take someone like Jacoby when you want to go running back heavy.
100%. Yep. So to round out my roster, my quarterback is Jaden Daniels. My two running backs are Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones. My wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb, Lad McConkey. I have Tyler Warren as my tight end. Tedero, McMillan, and Rome Odunze are my flexes. And then my bench spots are Travis Etienne, Jaden Higgins, and Jordan Mason. Looking at this, how the draft went, I think I love it. The only thing that I'm nervous about are my starting running backs because, I don't have that bona fide guy. I'm taking shots on Kenneth Walker, hoping he stays healthy. Aaron Jones, hoping he still has it as a 30-plus year old running back. But I love the wide receiver depth that I have on this team, and I do like the stab of Tyler Warren. So something to keep an eye out for me would be, if one of these running backs aren't able to, aren't up to snuff, then I could, hopefully, package one of these wide receivers and, someone else to go and trade and get a bona fide running back stud. So that's my roster. Woo, why don't you round us out? Tell us who your roster is, what you like.
Yeah, here we go. So Bo Nix at quarterback. Running backs are James Conner and Quinshon Judkins. For receivers, I have Malik Neighbors, Rashee Rice. My tight end is Brock Bowers. At the flexes, I have Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. And in my bench, I have Cam Scatterbo, Rashad White, and Luther Burden. I know I mentioned during this draft that coming in, I wanted to take full advantage of the PPR format and really go after guys who are target dominant. And I think I did that with Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers. And I think Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs are are adjacent to that role. So I'm really happy with that. I am going to be very heavily dependent on my pass catchers, but because I drafted them when I did, really early on, and got some of those top names, I'm okay with that. Exactly. Running backs could be a little shaky. I love both of the situations. I think there are a lot of opportunities that things could go wrong. And that would be something that could become a problem, especially with the running backs I have left on my bench. But I think when I'm targeting good situations, I think I did a good job with Connor and Judkins. Just like I said, I do think there are some more scenarios where things go wrong compared to other players.
Absolutely. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the first mock draft of the season. We appreciate Terrell and Ty joining us here on the table. I think what I will probably do is, take a screenshot of each of our rosters, put it into a post, and the folks at home will have you vote who you think was the who had the best draft. Listen, if you're sticking here now an hour and 40 minutes into the show, you are the real one. You know what I mean? You stuck it out with us through the entire time. Like, you are the real one. But, Terrell, Ty, appreciate you guys having on the show.
Thank you.
You are always welcome to come back at any time. There'll be multiple mock drafts. The invitation is open. But again, make sure you are following us on our socials: Twitter at 4th and Fantasy Pod, Instagram and TikTok at 4th and Fantasy. Make sure if you like a video format like you're seeing today on YouTube, make sure you're following us, subscribing to us at 4th and Fantasy Podcast. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as the summer goes on, we have more and more and more for you. So make sure you're checking us out and sticking tuned. So with that being said, we'll see you on the other side.
See you.